The tragic death of Amadou Diallo, and what they never told you. The killing of Amadou Diallo on February 4, 1999, remains one of the most disturbing and defining moments in modern discussions about policing, race, and justice in the United States. Diallo, a 23-year-old immigrant from Guinea, was unarmed when 4 New York City police officers fired 41 shots at him outside his apartment building in the Bronx. 19 bullets struck his body. The official narrative at the time framed the killing as a tragic mistake, a case of officers acting in fear. But that explanation leaves out critical truths that still resonate today. Amadou Diallo was not a suspect in a violent crime. He was not fleeing a robbery. He was standing in the vestibule of his own building after returning home from work. The officers, members of the NYPD's street crime unit, claimed they believed Diallo matched the description of a serial rapist in the area. Yet no solid evidence ever established a clear resemblance. The justification relied heavily on vague assumptions, the kind that disproportionately place young black men under suspicion. What the public was initially told is that Diallo reached into his pocket, and officers believed he was pulling out a gun. What they never emphasized enough is that what Diallo actually held was a wallet. In the dark, confined space of the building's entrance, officers opened fire almost instantly. One officer slipped, fell backward, and continued shooting, a moment that reportedly triggered more gunfire from the others. The chaos of that split second was later used to explain away an extraordinary use of lethal force. Another uncomfortable truth often glossed over is the role of the street crime unit itself. A plainclothes division later disbanded due to repeated controversies. Officers in this unit were trained to be aggressive, proactive, and highly suspicious. This mindset, critics argue, created an environment where perceived threats were magnified and hesitation was discouraged. Diallo's death was not just the result of individual actions, but of a policing culture that rewarded confrontation over caution. When the 4 officers were put on trial, the case was moved out of New York City to Albany, raising questions about whether justice could truly be impartial when removed from the community most affected. In 2000, all 4 officers were acquitted of criminal charges. The verdict devastated Diallo's family and outraged communities worldwide. Protests erupted not only in New York but across the globe, as many saw the ruling as confirmation that the justice system valued police narratives over black lives. What many people also never heard is that police initially failed to administer immediate medical aid, despite Diallo still showing signs of life. The delay further fueled anger and suspicion, reinforcing claims that his humanity was disregarded from start to finish. Years later, the city reached a civil settlement with Diallo's family, paying $3 million without admitting wrongdoing. While financial compensation acknowledged loss, it did not answer the deeper moral question. How could an unarmed man be mistaken for such a threat that 41 bullets were deemed necessary? Amadou Diallo's death was not an isolated incident. It was an early warning. Long before names like George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, or Eric Garner dominated headlines, Diallo's killing exposed systemic patterns, racial profiling, militarized policing, and a justice system that rarely holds officers criminally accountable. What they never told you is that Diallo's story was never just about fear or error. It was about whose fear is prioritized, whose lives are considered expendable, and how easily assumptions can turn deadly. More than 2 decades later, his name still echoes because the conditions that led to his death have not fully changed. Remembering Amadou Diallo is not about reopening old wounds. It is about confronting unfinished truths and refusing to normalize injustice disguised as tragedy,